Okay, we are live. Welcome to Tamarah's Closet today. I've got a very special guest with me, and he is local here in Greensboro and owns the art shop here in Greensboro. He took the art shop from $100,000 in sales to $1 million sales in just 1 year. And he's going to be sharing a little bit today about the history of the art shop and some of its artists and his newest passion, which is teaching classes on how to value art and take care of your investment. So I want to welcome today to Tamarah's Closet, Andy McAfee. Andy, can you still hear me?
Yes.
Good. Okay, you sound good, so I think we're doing good here. I want to jump right into the questions, Andy. Do you remember your first exposure or interest in art when you were growing up, when you were little? Did you have?
Yeah. Um, I started by decorating my bedroom with my parents let me put posters on the ceiling and on the walls, and I would collect any art posters that I could get. And that was kind of my beginnings. I've always been a very visual person, not such a good listener, as I was told in high school. But if I see a piece of art, I'll always remember it. If I'm in your house and I walk through your house, I'll always remember what room is, where, which is really helpful when it comes to dealing with clients. I can visually walk through their houses years later and remember every piece of art they own. So that's always a big help.
Really? That's pretty amazing. Were your parents artists, or was there a
No,
background artist?
no, my
No?
parents don't know where it came from. My dad always said, I never knew what you were going to do with that art degree. But he was an engineer. My mom was a nurse, and my brother's an engineer. My sister's a biologist. So I don't know I'm the youngest, so I just kind of went off track.
Well, I mean, I can tell you love what you do. So what prompted you to study art when you went to Appalachian? I mean, did you know you were going to do that when you were even young, or was that the plan?
No, actually, I was thinking of being an architect and took some architecture classes in high school. But then when I went to college, I got into graphic design, and I quickly realized I'm more of a people person I don't want to sit in a computer or a room drawing dots for 8 hours a day. And back in the late 80s, a lot of graphic design was hand done, where it's more computerized now. So getting into art marketing was just a natural transition for me because it was training me to run art galleries where I'd be in front of the people, dealing with artists, dealing with customers. I'm just not built to be sitting behind a desk 8 hours a day.
Yeah.
Engineer or being a graphic designer. I really feel like around 20, I figured, I really want to be in front of people. This job really opens me up. I get to go to a lot of homes. I get a lot of people coming in. I get to be with their dogs, and it's just a really good atmosphere here.
Yeah. So you studied art history just extensively in school, but you never experimented just with art in any way other than just learning
Yeah,
about it?
no, I have a degree in art. To get a degree in art marketing, you had to do all the core classes. So I went all the way from the color wheels to I was casting bronze and aluminum. We had our own foundry at Appalachian. I took advanced bronze. I made my own pinhole camera and did 12 and 6-inch focal lengths, and we did all our own chemicals in black and white. We did serography, lithography. Anything you come to the gallery and you want to know what you have, I've done it at some point. So I understand the process of art, but I don't consider myself a great artist. It was
Uh-huh.
more of a learning experience, and I still have some of my own paintings, and I have a few bronzes that I really like that I kept over the years. But people ask me all the time, are you an artist? And I just say I have a degree in art, because with
Yeah.
all the great artists I have in this gallery, it'd be embarrassing to show my stuff. So I'm on the marketing side. I just love the process, and I love appraising art and telling people what they have, because most people just don't know. They haven't had that training, so they don't know exactly what they're looking at.
No, they don't. And I love it in movies when they're a focus of the story is in the arts and they have the art forgers and then the art people that value the art. I always find it really fascinating. Um, it's always been fascinating. Do you consider yourself an art collector at all, or are you mostly
Yeah,
just?
well, I have this gallery that,
You
I
have the
have.
gallery,
I
yeah.
have like 100. I probably have over 100 pieces just in the gallery that I own, and then
Uh-huh.
I have more of a traditional collection at my house.
Okay,
More
that's what I.
18 pieces I've picked up over the years that are more, mid to late 18th century oils and things.
Uh-huh.
Some of them have some value, and that'll be. I'll keep those for retirement, I guess. But
Yeah.
the artists that I sell here, these are, mostly living contemporary artists that we can do shows and we get new. We're always getting new artwork from. Yeah, I love the older work, but the art we don't specialize in it at the art shop, so I don't show it here.
Yeah. Right. Well, what took you to Nantucket Island, and what did you learn the most from? I think you had an internship there.
Yeah, as part of an art marketing degree, you had to have an art degree, you had to have a minor in marketing, and then you had to do a 3-month internship at a major gallery. And they actually had to sign off that I did a decent job. But I'm originally from north of Boston, and we had a family that lived on Nantucket, and they had us out, and I interviewed with the Nantucket Artists Association, and they hired me. And I didn't get paid because it was an internship, but I did get 10% of everything I sold. So it paid my way. I had an opportunity to go to New York, but that didn't pay anything. And I would have had to live in New York. That would have been a strain on my parents. So um, and we did like 100,000. So I split the 10% with another girl. So I made about 5,000 that summer. It was enough to pay rent and eat. And, I didn't go into debt doing my internship, which I enjoyed. But Nantucket is just, people don't realize Greensboro is not a tourist town. Nantucket, everybody wanted a memento of being on Nantucket. We,
Yeah.
we did, I had one woman that didn't have any real talent, but she did harbor scenes of Nantucket on barrel stays, and we couldn't keep them in stock. They were like $95, and we'd sell 3 or 4 a day. Just tremendous amount of traffic. The Artists Association was right there when you got off the ferry, so just a lot. Even got to give Mr. Rogers a private tour after hours because Mr.
Oh,
Rogers
really?
lived on the island, and one of his
Oh,
friends was doing. Every 2 weeks, we'd switch out the artwork, and one artist would be featured. And one of his friends, Bill, was featured. He did the rose-covered cottages and photography. Yeah, it was cool. I was cleaning up, and he knocked on the door, and he said, "I'm Rogers," and of course I knew who he was. And yeah, I gave him a private tour of the gallery, and then that was that was the biggest thing probably that happened to me on Nantucket.
oh, that sounds fascinating to me. I know. I don't. When people say, "What do you come to Greensboro for?" I go, "I don't really know." It's
Yeah,
not
I
clear.
don't advise. Yeah, I don't necessarily advise artists. I get at least once a week, I'll have a new artist come in and ask me, how do you display and all that. Um, I tell them, if they're going to get started, they might want to try Charleston or, somewhere with a little bit more. You really want to find a place where people want a memento of. And there's just not a lot of people that want a memento of Greensboro. It's not a tourist town. It's more,
No.
industrial, I guess.
Yeah.
So our art is more sold international. About 80% of the art we sell actually goes out of state, sold on the internet, and got a big piece going to London right now, and we ship stuff all over the world. So it's
I'm
not
so.
just Greensboro that we're dependent on.
Oh yeah, you're worldwide. That's amazing, though. I think that's great. I love reading the history about the art shop, and we'll get to that. How did you land the job working with William Mangum, and what did you learn during those 5 years? What would you?
Yeah, I was not expecting to be back in Greensboro, but I be in Boston at a major gallery or something. But the girl I was dating was, her mom had MS, and we needed to be real close to Greensboro. So we moved back here in '92, and I just walk into, Bill Mangum was on the front cover of the phone book, and he had done UNCG Faust Building, and he looked like a decent artist. So I just walked in and I offered to work 2 weeks free if he'd try me, and ended up there for 5 years. We had a tremendous amount. That was '92 to '97, and the print market was so huge back then. But we were bringing on universities. I did 2 commissions for Appalachian State. We did Carolina, Wake Forest. He even got the Cecils to allow him to paint Biltmore. So he did a 4-part series on Biltmore, and we would go up there and set up a booth, and we would sell Biltmore, pictures at Biltmore, which was really cool. By the end of it, I was doing 4 to 5 different booths all over. I was doing Orlando, Atlanta, New York, and 2 in Greensboro for Christmas. So we were always on the move. I learned a tremendous amount in those 5 years. And I worked a lot of hours because, for Thanksgiving, you'd spend all day setting up at the Coliseum, and then you'd work from 10 to 10 every day, and then you'd break it down Sunday night. So, it was a lot of work, but I was young and I was ready for it. I don't think I'm ready for it now. I don't necessarily going to set up any more booths.
Yeah. Is the market
tremendous way to get out there? What's that?
Is the market today, do they do many print? You said back then there was more print work. Is it more, are people buying more originals today, or do we still see a lot of print work?
A lot of people were buying Timberlakes and Mangums and Furches's and all, they were all offset lithographs, which just proved not to be a really good printing technique. That's done on a Heidelberg press, the same press they make newspapers and magazines from. The inks, they were 3 to 5 year inks. So if you didn't have the right glass on it, you could have a faded piece within a couple years. Around 2000, it went to the Giclée market, which is a 8-color ink, and it's about 100-year ink. So I've never seen a faded Giclée. They can withstand a whole lot of light because it's misting the paint on, so it's 100 times thicker than what an offset lithograph would be. So, so unfortunately, when the market switched, all those people that had 100 Mangums or Timberlakes under their bed for retirement, it didn't turn out so good because there's not a big market for the old paper pieces. People want the Giclées on canvas, and as we've gone on, we find more and more originals. We do really well with originals from Germany and Hungary and Hong Kong, and we try to do as much with originals as we can. We just have to get the right price point on them. People aren't going to walk in wanting to spend $20,000 on an original every day. But if we can get them one for $2,000 to $3,000, and it's basically you get an original for the same price as a reproduction, that's what we do a lot of. If it's a famous artist like Pinot or Arvid or something, you're really going to be in the Giclée market because their originals are $80,000 to $100,000. So you don't have that opportunity of, we sold some Pinot originals, but a lot of people just wanted the reproductions.
Yeah, because when I think of a serious art collector, I've just always thought they were buying the originals, and but it's some.
If you're a serious collector, I would definitely recommend stepping up and getting originals of hopefully internationally known artists. A lot of people put a lot of money into local art, and it can be hard to resell that if the artist quits painting or passes, or there's not a big market. You're not necessarily going to just be able to resell it. If you buy a Pinot or somebody internationally known, there's the whole internet to try to resell it either on art brokerage or eBay or whatever. But you can't really put a Mangum print. You couldn't put that online and expect somebody to necessarily be looking for it.
Yeah, I see.
I would say quality over quantity. I wouldn't buy 100 paper prints and think that that's going to make you money in the future. You could buy one really good original from a well-known artist, and it's always going to go up in value over time.
Right. Well,
That's why I like the 18th century paintings, because they are auctioned. So it's easy to see what the value is, since they're being actively auctioned off.
Yeah. Well, that's exciting to me. I think that's the originals and the auctions and things like that. But when you were offered the job at the art shop as the gallery director, what all did that involve? Because I know I said you increased your sales from 100,000 to 1 million in a year. How did you get that sales experience? Is that just like a
Well,
natural gift?
no, it took longer than a year, but when I started in 97, Lenny was he had purchased the art shop from his father he was a mall manager. He didn't have any background in art or framing. So he was really struggling, and he knew he needed to get somebody in with a little bit more, of a sense of art and how to grow it. So I started in 97. I immediately picked up like Hassam, who's behind me, Oleg, who's from Russia, picked up Thomas Kincaid. We had a special room for him. And by 98, we had this new thing called the internet. And by 98, we had our first website, artshopnc.com. And within a couple months, I had a sale. I sold 3 Olegs to a guy in Japan for $30,000. So it was just a whole new world. To wait for people to walk into the art shop in the 80s or 90s, you just don't get a lot of traffic in Greensboro. But once you open it up to the internet, that's when things really got crazy. We had a register. Our register was from the 40s and only went up to $999. So after we started making $30,000 sales, and you'd have to put it in 30 times, we did get a new register eventually. But we were in arts and antiques. We had full page ads. We were doing Pinot shows at his home. We just, it was an exciting time, but I couldn't have done it without the internet. You can't. I couldn't have grown it that quickly without an international audience. So I just got fortunate. I stepped in at the right time.
Yeah. Well, the internet has exploded a lot of businesses, I know. And then I think for some types of industries, little local places that retail, it's probably hurt, but I don't know. It's for what you're doing. I can see where there would be an explosion.
It changes every year. It's different. It was so easy, and I couldn't believe back then, like Google wouldn't even charge you anything, and now it's, we were like, well, this is so much less expensive than doing in the newspapers and all that. But it just goes up and up every year. So, we're very dependent on people finding us on the internet. So it's a lot of what we do.
Yeah. Well, I want you to share a little bit about the history behind the art shop, and I'm going to pull up some of those images that you gave me. So let's see. Let's see here. I want to pull up, okay, this one. Okay, was that the original?
No, well, we started over Leggett's Drugstore in 1899. Was kind of cool though, because the guy who started it was N.D. Andrews, and I'm an Andrew, and the earliest ads I found were of he called it Andrew's Art Store. So I've always joked about changing it back to Andrew's Art Store, but really what happened in 1923, it was purchased by Charles Farrell, who was the first photographer for the Greensboro News and Record. So he brought the art shop from the second floor. He put it down on Main Street. It was an old bank. He would do his photography in the vault in the basement, and had a huge body of work. UNC Chapel Hill has thousands and thousands of his photos that he took while in the 30s and 40s when he was most productive.
Goodness.
This photo is from 1937, and it just shows shows the side of the art shop. You know, we rented from the Oddfellows, which is the sign above ours. That building was torn down in '73 to build the new Lincoln Financial building that has the clock on it, the new side. So,
Yeah.
so that where the art shop was is now the steps to Lincoln Financial building.
Okay. Oh, okay. So I've got the next picture I've got up here is the guy with the camel.
Yeah, it was a really cool story. R.J. Reynolds called Charles Farrell and his dad, Andrew Jackson Farrell, and he said he was coming out with a new product and he needed a picture of a camel. They went to the fairgrounds, which R.J. Reynolds owned, and they said no, they didn't take pictures of their animals. And R.J. Reynolds said, well, if you don't let me take a picture of your camels, I might not let you come back, basically. So they got a picture. This is the one hump camel. His real name was Old Joe, and that's the trainer holding him. He said the photography was different. You had to get things to stand still, and that, I guess, the camel did not stand still. So he finally grabbed it by the neck, and the thing shot straight up like that, and they got the picture they wanted. And then that turned out to be Joe the camel from Camel Cigarettes. So that's pretty cool that the art shop had involvement in that, because he's probably the most famous camel in the world by now. This was a teaser from 1913 where the camels are here. Nobody knew what a camel, he was doing little teasers. They said it was probably the earliest, teaser ads where the camel was coming, but you didn't know what the camel was. And it turned out to be cigarettes. And they actually changed, they changed the two hump camel for a while, and sales dropped. So they went back to Old Joe, and Old Joe is still the camel, on the cigarettes 114 years later. He's still the original camel. So I thought that was a neat part of history.
I do too. Let's see. I've got now here. This next one is let's see. Now this is
that's Tobe. That was one of the first Black children's book. It was Tobe lived in Greensboro with his four brothers, and Charles Farrell followed him around and photographed them for this book. And then Stella Gentry Sharp, she did the little, it's children's book, so she did the writing for it, and it was just day-to-day life for this family in Greensboro, and it hadn't really been done before. They didn't really cater to the Black families as much. So this ended up being Chapel Hill Press's #1 book they ever released. They've sold over 500,000 copies of it. I actually found this is he did 5,000 to begin with, and this is the first. I was at a client's house hanging it, and he had 2 Tobe books, and I said, "Oh man, I'd love," and he gave me one that is signed by Tobe himself. So that was really cool.
It is. I love the photograph. I do.
Yeah, I wish we had more. It was just day-to-day life. They were playing with possums and on tractors, and it was just life in 39. It was, but it really struck a chord with people. People still talk about that book.
That's great. I'd like to have a copy of that.
They still sell it. We sell it out of the North Carolina gallery.
Okay.
We sell 5 or 10 a year that people, they get to looking at my original book, and they purchase a copy of it.
Oh, wonderful. Well, the art shop was named the #1 gallery in 4 categories by Décor magazine. I'm going to share about that, and I'm going to pull up this picture here. Let's see. There.
Yeah, that was our first one. We won the Footsteps Award. We had just built this gallery in 2000, and this was maybe 2003. And we won the award for Footsteps. Is how you walk through my gallery. It has a nice flow to it with the atrium, and it kind of leads you around, and you don't know where you're going. And
it does.
So after Footsteps, we won for Growth. We won for for the build out. One year we sent in how we built this gallery, and it won for that. So they had like 6 different categories, and we won 4 of them over the years. You couldn't enter for more than one each year, but we won like 4 years in a row, which was fun. We'd get to go to Atlanta and get the award, and then they'd take us to Chicago for a long weekend, and we would meet all the other winners, and we would think tank it. So we would have roundtable discussions of how to grow art galleries, and it was really, really interesting.
Yeah. Well, I love your gallery. This is just, let's see. I was going to show this one image because you were talking about the flow. Let's see. I had it right here. Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I'm sitting right now. That's the back of the gallery, and you don't quite see the atrium, which we're really proud of. When you come in, there's a big atrium with marble floors, and it really has a nice. And we have the pedestal in the middle. We built the whole gallery around the outlet in the atrium so I could have power. So we've had everything from fountains to rotating pedestals, and we always want something moving when people walk in, just to show off the gallery. So the whole gallery was basically built off that central atrium. We designed around it because we wanted that feature as you walk in.
Yeah, and I don't think I have now this is the outside of it, which looks nice.
Yeah, we were extremely lucky. We were growing really quickly in 2000, and they wanted this was the old Canada Dry building plant was on this, and it was abandoned, and they wanted to build a shopping center, so they traded Lenny's land up on the hill to build the parking lot we could have the pick of the litter of where we wanted the gallery built, because the building wasn't even built yet. So I picked this design because it had the sawtooth, and it just had everything you would want. We have hanging walls, we have soffits, and it was a dream to have to be able to build a gallery from the ground up. Most people are building galleries out of old clothing stores, or you just improvise with what you've got. This was a one in a lifetime experience to be able to build it from scratch.
It is, and it's a beautiful gallery. Y'all, when I had built my dream horse farm many years ago, out in Reedsville, y'all framed a lot of prints that I had, and with some of the most beautiful frame work. And I wish I still had them, but it's a beautiful building and gallery lucky that you were able to build it from ground up.
It was basically a one in a lifetime opportunity. If we didn't have that old building to trade for this build out, I don't think it would have been feasible. People are blown away when they walk in though, because it's nicely done, but there was a little luck, and I always say luck is laboring under correct knowledge. You're always, if you're working hard, it's easier to get lucky. But we had to grow from 97 to 2000. We had to have tremendous growth to even consider moving our gallery to a newer, bigger location.
Right.
We felt confident at that point and we had some really good years. We really didn't see a big difference until 2008. After that, a lot of collectible markets like Kincaid and things like that really it changed the market forever, because all the people that were collecting art under their bed and stuff were starting to find out that they can't just turn around and sell it for a quick profit. It's a lot more involved than that. But no, we had many good years after we built this location. A lot of artists came to see us. We did a lot of art shows, a couple a year, and it's just proud to have an artist in my atrium painting for the public, and it was a good time.
Oh yeah. Well, before we go into sharing some of the artists, I wanted you to share your passion for appraising art and teaching people how to value it and take care of it, because that was something you're very passionate about, and I think it's very fascinating to be able to do that. So
I love the I'm in the more the the retail gallery setting, but I do love the history of art and just going to museums and seeing art. About 15 years ago, I put together I started doing garden clubs, Kiwanis, Rotary, and then I got some bigger ones with, like, the Historic Museum had me over with the auditorium, about 100 people, to talk about art. And I would teach them, what it's worth. Actually, in retirement homes, I would go into their rooms afterwards if they wanted to have a quick appraisal done, which I found some good pieces, because, those pieces had been around for a long time. So some of them had quite a bit of value to them. But also would talk about the, how to take care of your art, your canvas, and what kind of glass to use on your prints, and, just things of that nature.
right. And so you teach.
I really enjoyed it. COVID slowed that down a lot. I kind of got off the circuit, but I do free appraisals in the gallery. I probably do 3 or 4 a week. People bring things in and I appraise them. I did find a couple really good pieces that went to auction. I had a client that had some Ernie Barnes. He did the Sugar Shack for Good Times, and she had some originals of his because they knew him. And they went to auction, and one sold for $135,000 and one sold for $165,000. So, but you gotta kiss a lot of frogs in this business. I probably see 20, 30 pieces before I can find one that's a collectible value that could be auctioned. A lot of stuff goes to, like, red collection. There's places for all of it, but unfortunately, to be auctioned off at a major auction house, you got to have something that's worth at least $1,000 or so. They're not going to auction off a $50 print. It's just not worth their time. But I've worked a lot. I work with Leland Little now, who's in Hillsboro, and if they have what I feel like is quality work, I'll get them in touch with Leland Little, and then they can go from there. And probably sold 10 or 20 pieces through that process. And I know Leland Little appreciates me verifying the work before it gets to them, because I'm sure they're in the same position where they've done all the research on this artist, but it's from the 50s and it's a print on board. It's not the original. So I hate when people do that. Half of my job is just telling people what they have. Is it a serograph? Is it a lithograph? Is it an offset lithograph, which is not a good printing process? So just educating them on that is a big part of what I do.
Yeah, but don't you repair originals too, or something? Yeah.
Yeah, we have and she does all our our restoration, and she can patch holes, and she's an artist herself, so she can do the in touching. If there's paint loss, we always have at least 1 or 2 pieces with her coming through. She can take the old varnish off that's yellowed and put new varnish on. That's more of a polymer that's not going to yellow over time. It can be a few $100s. I've had some that have been a few $1,000s that had just extensive damage, rips, and paint loss. Some paintings almost have to be repainted. But as an artist, she does a very good job of, if part of your face is ripped, she can patch it, and she can make it so that you would have never known that there was a hole there. And you can't just do restoration. You have to also be an artist to be able to put the paint back on it. I can varnish pieces if they're in good shape. I can clean and varnish them, but I don't attempt to use those chemicals to take off varnish and things of that nature. It's a good way to ruin a piece. It's years of learning to be an art restorer, and Anne's very reasonable. If you take a piece to New York, you'll pay five times for the same process. But you might be at a major gallery in New York that has their own restorer, and it's just gonna. I think we offer a really good value on that. and we know the art well enough to tell them, this piece is worth 400. It's going to be 400 to, clean and repair it. If you want to keep it, but I wouldn't do it for an investment. I would do it because it's most of what we clean and varnish is sentimental value, something, a family heirloom or something of that nature, where it's always been on their wall. There's not a lot of people that are cleaning and varnishing and paintings to resell them.
Right.
It does happen, but not often.
So, and most of your art collectors are international. You say most of the real art collectors that you work with, or
they're all over. Probably only maybe 10-20% of it goes out of the country. We sell a lot to Florida, California. Just there's not a whole lot of it stays in North. Maybe 20-30% stays in North Carolina. The rest of it is shipped out. I just sold a piece to Canada yesterday, a Pinot. I've got a life-size bronze dog, Sherlock, Nano Lopez, going to London that's being created right now. So we usually always have something that's getting ready to ship out of state or out of country. It just depends on, we do a really good business, in America as well. It's just, the amount of people out there, like we talked about earlier, it may not be Greensboro, Raleigh, or Charlotte. The odds are they're going to be somewhere else.
Yeah, that's what I didn't think we had a lot of. I didn't think we had a lot of local collectors here. I mean,
we have a fair amount. I've got a bunch of them. I love it when they're local because I can. I have an install tomorrow morning. I love to be able to go out to the house and hang it correctly and walk through their house, and that way, if they want something in the future, I can be more helpful to them. If they're out of state, they have to send me photos of their wall and send me photos, but it's not as good as if I can be on the property. We actually had a big client. You there? I lost you.
Yeah, you're breaking up. You're breaking up a little bit. You said they send you photos of the wall, and
yeah, but like we've got clients in Dallas, Texas, I've driven to, and we did multiple trips to the Keys to hang artwork, Sarasota, Florida. So I do have a broad range of how far I can get to, but I can't like drive to California for a couple pieces. But I do love to travel with the art, see the home, and like some of my biggest collectors are in like Fort Worth and in Naples, Florida, and I have to go see them every once in a while to make sure that that their house is looking good.
Yeah, right. Now, framing's a big part of your work as well, and I know. What makes you stand out? Do you think from other places locally, I guess, that frame, because you had a big collection of framework when I was there.
Yeah, I have two full-time framers, and they've both been in the business for about 30 years, and their quality is just beyond good. People make a mistake of thinking that they're going to get a deal at Michael's or Hobby Lobby. We do a lot of repairs from them because there's people, if they just have a poster and they want an inexpensive frame, I mean, that's fine, but we deal more with the 18th century paintings and pastels and really unique jobs that parchment paper from 200 years ago. You really need to know how to do the conservation and how to, you don't want to you don't want to mount down a 200-year-old document. And I've seen that done before just because the person had a year, they'd been working at Michael's for a year and they just didn't understand. Everything that comes in the door, we inspect first. So I have the knowledge of the art and how it needs to be treated. And my guys are phenomenal about everything that comes out of the back. I mean, 99.9% of the time, the client's ecstatic. We really try to, keep it top notch. But we're slam full right now. We're at about a 4 to 5 week wait. People are willing to wait, to get their pieces done here. But just in the corporate work, we could get, 200 pieces. We just did the Truist Leadership Center last year out at the airport, which was 64 bedrooms in the lobbies. So that was over 100. That was like 200 something pieces. We do all the work for Cone Hospital. We just did their heart and vascular. We did their women's and children's 5-story center 5 years ago, and that was over 200 pieces. So when we get a big order like that, it can really put us behind. But my guys always get it done. I lose sleep over it, but they always get it done. We haven't missed a deadline yet, which is amazing.
Yeah. So your corporate work is a big part of your business too.
It's extremely important. We did 2 places for Cone this year. Heart and Vascular is across the street from the Children's Center. We just did that this year, and that was about 80 pieces. We have a retirement home in Pinehurst that we're getting ready to do later this month. In November, we're doing Grayland Estates, which is a historic place in Winston. We're doing the refurbish on that, which is about 28 bedrooms. So we stay busy, but April and I, we do all the installation, and we're good at not making mistakes or extra holes and stuff. But because if you have, if you're hanging 200-300 pieces and you have to security mount every single one of them, you got to be accurate the first time. You can't. It's not a job where you can really make mistakes. So we measure twice and hang once. But it's a lot of fun. We love getting out and doing that. We did High Point University a couple years ago for the new convention center. Just picked up stuff from High Point University that we had the designer coming in tomorrow morning to pick out framing, and then we'll go install it when it's ready. And we do a lot of disaster work. We just got another job from After Disaster, where we go into a home after they don't burn down, because there's nothing left, but when they get filled with smoke and water, we'll go in and pick up the pieces that we can fix, and then we'll get the smell. We'll take them apart, get the smell out of them, clean them up, and give them back. That's a big part of our business too. It's not something a lot of people do, but I've been in the restoration business for 25 years, so I'm comfortable going into burned out houses and telling them what needs to be fixed and what's beyond repair. It's just kind of second nature to me at this point.
Are you getting the smell and the smoke damage out of the art itself, or the framing too? Everything?
Yeah, no, both. We have chemicals for both. We just got done with this collector. I don't know, but they had about 20-30 pieces that were purchased off a cruise ship, and they were all pretty elaborate frames, and so we had to clean each one, and you take them apart and you clean them separately, and then you put them back together again. But we have all the different chemicals to take the smell out. We'll do them once, and we'll put them up for a week, and then we'll smell them, and if they don't smell perfect, we'll work on them again. That's it's just kind of how it goes. You might not get it all the first time.
That's amazing. How'd you learn how to, when you're hanging them? And that's another art in itself. Did you just learn that as you go, or was that something you learned in the university as well? Or
really, we were in charge of hanging shows at the at the little gallery there on campus. But we really didn't know. We didn't know much of anything when we it's all on the job training basically. But when I worked for Mangum, we did a lot of installs, and I got my feet wet with security mounting and drilling into brick and marble, and there's just a lot of crazy stuff out there. And it seems like they call the art shop. If it's crazy enough, they probably call me, because there's a lot of people that wouldn't feel comfortable drilling into marble, and there's a lot of risk involved in some of these installs, 200-pound mirrors and things of that nature. So I've been, this has been my, 30 something years of on the job training, so I feel like I've seen most of it by now.
Well, let me pull up some of your artists here. Let's see. I'll just start pulling stuff up, and I'll let you tell about it. Let's see. got, I'll pull this one up.
Yeah, that's a personal piece to me. That's Penny, my cat. She just passed away about 6 months ago. She was 16, and me and my wife were really upset. So we had Ray Simonini from Hong Kong does pet portraits for me, and you could just see by the painting on the right that he really knocked it out. I mean, she used to sit in the window and watch us. So I surprised my wife by putting the painting in the window, and it looked just like Penny was looking down on us from the window. It was so much fun. But I wish I had. He's done so many great commissions for me. We just did like a 50 by 40 inch thing with oysters. He's done. He can do. He can do. I had one of my clients painted for a big party, his 60th birthday party, and he loved it. So it's just Simonini has so much talent. We can do, and it's affordable. I mean, a pet portrait. I just did one for a client, $400 or $500. You can spend a lot to find an artist that can actually. There's a lot of pet portrait artists out there, but you really want it to look like. I mean, you can look at Penny's eyes, and you could tell in the painting that she's soulful, just like she is in the photo. And that's something I never achieved, and I think a lot of artists will never achieve actually getting the emotion of a pet or a person. I just think. I mean, that's one thing. I'm kind of a groupie. I just think artists. Some people love music, some people love whatever. When an artist can do something that I couldn't fathom ever doing, to me, that puts me away. And I'm actually kind of shy around the artists. Even though I own the art shop, I'm always these people are, like famous people to me. It's like,
yeah,
they've got they've got talent that I just don't know how they get it. I mean, I know it's a lot of repetition, it's a lot of working your craft, but there's only a few artists that I've met that can just nail, like an emotion or something like Pino did. That I think you have a photo of Pino there. I'll talk about.
Let's go move this one. I'll pull up Pino. Yeah, I like Simonini. How do you say his name?
Simonini. Yeah.
Simonini. The what you had in your gallery, I saw all the animals that he had done in there.
Yeah, we have a full collection of. He does the chickens and the cows, and we did. The funny thing is, our number one seller is oysters. People love his oysters, and they'll eat pet portraits. And this woman found me from Florida. She saw a Simonini in a restaurant, and she Googled us and had me paint her. The one the restaurant had wasn't the right size, so I custom did. It was like 8 oysters on a big blue background, and she loved it. It's being shipped in right now.
That sounds beautiful. Okay, I had him, but I lost it. Here he is. Pino.
You can go in any order. Yeah, this is Pino. He made Fabio famous. We actually sold that painting twice. It's a mother-daughter. We sold it originally for $40,000, and then we resold it for that client for $75,000. So that was Pino is one of the few artists that we've dealt with that after he passed, his originals continue to go up in value. We did a blog one time. It was dying isn't always a good thing if you're an artist, because everybody has that perception that, once they pass, it's going to go up in value. But unless you've made a mark on the art world, it's just going to fade away. Like Thomas Kincaid, when he passed, his market went flat because there wasn't really anything other than being the painter of light. There was nothing too special about what he was doing. But Pino made Fabio famous in the 80s. He did all the romance book covers. And
Fabio, yeah.
They kind of had him pigeonholed that his publisher wanted him to do ladies with parasols. And so in 2000, he went off with his son, Max, and he started doing waitresses and mother and daughters and more seductive scenes, mirror scenes. And it just exploded. a painting done after 2000 is worth at least double of a painting done in the 90s. And usually the early work's more valuable, but in Pinot's case, everybody wants that. He died in 2011, so he had about 10 years of really good originals. And we were going, we came out with something new. I don't think it had been done before. We actually put it out online and in like Arts and Antiques. Write in and tell us why you want to meet Pinot. And for the first show in Greensboro, we got like 100 responses. We picked the top 5. We flew them in. We had a $500,000 show. Then we took them to dinner and flew them back out. And then I was like, what? Yeah, again, why would people necessarily want to come to Greensboro? So then we did a show in New York and limoed him to his New Jersey studio, which was very intimate. We had dinner at his house. And then we did 2 more shows in Naples, Florida. He built a new house in Naples, an Italian-style house with a huge studio. And yeah, we did a show for him on his 69th birthday. We did a show, and he passed at 70. So that was the last time. That was the last show we got to. We had no clue, but he was a big fan of unfiltered cigarettes, and I think it caught up. He was.
I was going to ask because that's too young, 70.
Yeah, he was wanting to do a lot more, and I think he was getting more into religious. He kept saying he wanted to do something epic, which he was touching on religious themes more. And once he got sick, it was pretty quick. He couldn't do a full-size painting after that. So at least we got to be in his home and spend some time with him before he went.
Yeah, that's a shame because that would have been nice to see what he would have done.
He's been gone almost 15 years, and he's still one of our best-selling artists.
That's amazing. Okay, I'm going for another one here. Okay, here we go. This is Nano.
Yeah, Nano's been our #1 seller for the last couple years. He's standing with a life-size ostrich. As you saw in our gallery, we have the life-size Eric the goat. Which those are about 100,000. Those take a unique client to want one of those. But we do. They go all over the world. I have collectors in London, and this guy in London just bought another life-size piece from me, which we're shipping over to him. So it's just it's not for everybody, but for the people that like nanos. I have clients that have 25 of them. Some people, they love the cats and the whimsy, the dragon eating ice cream, and it's just a fun, and it is. I feel like bronzes are probably the best, one of the best investments because it is a lost wax bronze process, and they don't crack, they don't deteriorate, and a good bronze is always going to have value, even if Nano isn't producing anymore. There's still a good product. I really believe in the bronzes, and I think that I've poured bronze and aluminum and stuff and done my own sculptures. I think it really helps show the client, that this is a 16-part process. This isn't something that is thrown together. It takes 4 to 6 months to make each one, to get it through the 16 parts. And there's a really neat video. If you go to nanolopez.com, there's a really cool video of every step that it takes to make a nano bronze. It's a real eye opener on how much techniques is involved in each one.
I like the bronze. I used to show Arabians at the Arabian Nationals, and they had all these vendors, and they had this huge life-size bronze stallion rearing up, and it was like, God, I don't know, $200,000 or $300,000, and
they're impressive though.
I know.
We have a restaurant in out west in Kernersville near our house, and they have probably 20 Remingtons who did the horses and the Indians and stuff. And they have a life size in there, and it's pretty impressive. They're not that valuable because they're not real bronze, most of them. They're more of a pot metal. But it gives some people just focus on wall art, and I think it's important that you have pedestals with sculptures, and you have a variety of art, and that's how the art shop is. It's fun to look at because you've got something everywhere. You got things on pedestals, things on the floor, things on the wall. I think some people just focus on putting a few pieces on their wall.
Oh, yeah.
This is Hassam at our gallery. He's one of the first artists I picked up when I started in '97, and he's still living. We've done multiple shows with him. He's a figurative abstract artist. One great thing about an artist that's still practicing is that I can fly. He lives in Miami now, and I've had multiple clients that wanted original commission. I fly him in. We have dinner with Hassam. They show him what, kind of the theme of what they want, and it's a great experience. I mean, if you're going to spend $30,000 on a piece of art, what's better than meeting the artist and having dinner and a glass of wine and discussing what your vision is, and then Hassam actually hitting the vision. Every time I've done a commission with him, the client has been extremely happy with what he's come up with. And it's challenging because it's figurative abstract. They want it to be like a husband-wife. So it does have that look of that could be that couple. But, it's so how Hassam can do figurative abstract and still give the client the illusion that that's them in the painting. That's pretty cool. But he really does listen. When we're at dinner, he'll really listen and take notes, and then he'll go to work on it. And that's been really successful for us.
Oh, I think that's real.
He's the artist behind me. That's the artist we chose because of the colors.
Yeah.
And I chose to sit by his work. But he's in his 70s. He's in his 70s now, but he's still a very active painter. He's
the one right behind you there.
Yeah, these are all Hassam's originals and Giclées.
Yeah.
The one directly behind me is an original. They're somewhat affordable, maybe $12,000 to $15,000. But I do sell a lot. He's also gotten into metal, which I love. One of my wife's favorite piece here is actually a Giclée on metal, on aluminum, and they last forever too. It's hard to damage an aluminum piece, but you get a lot more shine off the metal. It makes it pop more than you can get off a canvas. Thomas Arvid and Hassam both do metal, and I love them. And we sell them really well too. They're a little expensive to ship around and stuff because you can't roll them up or anything, but you have to build a box for them. But it still do extremely well with them.
I just found some more you sent me, and this is the one we just talked about, but it's a different piece of artwork.
Yeah, that's Pinot again.
Yeah.
That's Restful. That was actually a Giclée on canvas that was hand embellished by him. And that was just one of I had met the girl that was, I was at a show of his before we had him. We went to Richmond, Virginia to see him at the Chasen Gallery and meet him. And that girl was there, and he was enamored with her and wanted to paint her. She was like a 16-year-old Italian girl, just beautiful, and used her as a model. And so I always got a kick out of knowing who the person in the painting was. But we probably 15, 20 times because it's a signed and numbered piece. So we could sell more than one of them.
Oh, that's nice. I know, and I had one more, I think, of him. Okay, this is different. I don't think this is the one I've showed yet.
Yeah. That was just another one, a Pinot with a Giclée that was at the art gallery, at the art shop, and he was getting ready to personalize it on the back. Whenever he did a show, whenever my artists do shows, they'll do a little remark or a little saying on the back for the client. I even had artists like Oleg and Sobsi. They actually did embellishing while people watched, so they could buy the piece and watch the artist embellish it for them. And those were great shows.
Explain what that is, so that for the viewers when they're doing that.
So the canvases, that canvas would have been created as Giclée, where it's misted on there to look like the original. The only difference between the original and the Giclée is there's no texture on a Giclée. So the artist would go back in and he would paint the shawl. He would never paint the face, or the skin tones, because that might mess it up. But he would put texture in the shawl and in the dress, in the flowers. That's called embellished. Most of my artists do that, like Thomas Arvid, the wine artist, and Pinot. they'll do an embellished artist proof edition, and they'll do a regular edition. Regular editions like 1,500 were embellished as 3,200. So you definitely have different. The one I just sold to Canada, she went with the unembellished more for pricing reason. And I don't think she quite understood, what she was getting for the extra money. It's really good to see them in the gallery. It's hard for me on the phone to really tell you what embellished, how much it adds to a painting without seeing them side by side. But once you get that 3D texture of real paint, most people would consider it an original. Most people don't have the eye for it where they'd say, no, that's a giclée that's embellished. I know just because I've been doing it for a while, but most people wouldn't.
Now, this is one I was supposed to show. I think this is when you met Dino in Italy. Is that?
Yeah, that's me and my wife with Dino Rosine. He's considered like the godfather of Murano glass, a little island off of Venice. And we actually were going to Venice, and he invited us. That's his private studio. The public's not allowed in there. But he had us over. I've been selling his work for about 20 years. He said, yeah, come on over. We'll have a drink and I'll show you around. And I work with his daughter a lot. And I took photos, and you can see behind me there's mandolins and things. But I took photos that I normally wouldn't have known were there. And I had one client in Vegas that bought like 8 pieces. He was so excited to see pieces that he'd never seen before because it's glass, so each piece is a little different. And he did some guitars that he kind of cut them up, and they were more abstract. And my client just loved them. And we shipped them in from Murano, and I check them in here at the gallery, and then I ship them out to Vegas. And he's a musician. He's got pianos and guitars, and I would love to. I keep telling him if I come to Vegas, I'd love to see his condo there because it's mind blowing the pieces that he was able to get from. Because Dino retired. When they retire, they close their kiln. This means I'm not doing it anymore. So there's only a limited number of pieces left. And I was surprised when the galleries that were selling his glass in Murano it was much more expensive to buy it there than to buy it in Greensboro. It kind of blew my mind, but I guess because they knew he wasn't going to be creating much more, they've really marked the prices up. But Murano glass is beautiful. I've got a couple pieces here. It's totally unique to that little island, and it's called Murano glass for that reason.
I can't imagine as an artist just wanting to quit what you do, but I guess you've done it so long. You know.
His was more health. He's in his 70s, and those things are heavy, and you got to spin them and heat them, and it's not like painting. It's very you're in a hot kiln all day, sweating and trying to form glass. And I think it was a little bit more, his body was just kind of wearing out. His son does it, but his son's work is a little different. But I just don't think he had it in him anymore to have to do that day in and day out. But he has a beautiful collection. I mean, he had like 50, 60 pieces in his private collection. So he still has work left. It's just, you can't get everything anymore.
Yeah. Well, this is one of your corporate work. That
was a ceiling in Myrtle Beach. We were hired to come in, and I wish I had the final product, but the lighting up there, we had to cut each. They were different colored plexi pieces that looked kind of like abstract fish, and the ceiling had lighting in it that was different colors, and the way we did the fish where they were flowing up and down when the lighting would change, it looked like they were swimming across the lobby and the ceiling. It was a really cool install. It was a dangerous one. Me and my buddy did it all, but we were about 40 feet high, and each one had to be cut at a certain length to make it look like they were moving as a school of fish. We couldn't just hang them up there. Each one had a specific height that the artist wanted it at. So it took some time.
That looks very dangerous. I don't like heights, so I wouldn't be able to do that.
Yeah, that was an unusual one. This is just one we thought was really cool. This is each time you got off the elevator at the Truist, they had 4 floors at the Truist Leadership Center where they train people. Each one had a key feature as you came off the elevator, and these were just sticks that were they didn't have any hanging hardware or anything. So we had to each piece had to be individually balanced and placed. They all were different sizes. They weren't all the same piece. They were all individual pieces of wood tied together. So that's kind of like what we can go in, and the designer can trust that April and I can get it hung right.
Right.
Some people would be flustered that it didn't have any hanging hardware, and where the hardware should go, there would be a hole because it had negative space. So it was a lot of measuring and planning just on that one little wall, and that was just one feature out of 100 pieces. That was just
That's
one.
amazing. When I first saw it, I thought it was brass. They were brass things, but they're sticks.
Yeah, they're just sticks that are glued together, and no two were alike. So it did really make the project. If they were all the same and had a preset hanger on them, that would have been a quick project. But when you have to individually space out and put in each piece, it's going to take a while. But we almost lived over there for about a week. We'd show up every morning and we would install for 8 hours. And that was a huge job because that designer wanted very unusual installations, 200-pound pieces of wood, walls of plates, not just your everyday, like each bedroom had 2 40 by 40 inch paintings, and that was fairly simple. But these installs were each one you had to start from scratch and try to figure out, how am I going to get all these pieces up on the wall where it looks good? They're not all level at that point. They weren't all level yet, but it looked amazing when it was finished.
I bet. That's complicated. That would have taken a while. I hope they paid you well. Okay.
I hope so. This is over at Cone Hospital in their lobby. This is Chris. He helps me hang the bigger jobs. And then the crazy part is we hung all these ceramics up, and this is the lobby at Cone. Right when you walk out of the Women's Children's Center, there's a Panera and an eating lobby. And then after we were done, they said, we want to put plexi over it because we don't want to get dust on them. So we had to build a shelf and put like a 150-pound piece of plexi on over top of it so nobody could touch it. I thought that was pretty crazy, but we did it. If they ask us to do it, we do it. We've never said no to like Cone or something. If they want a crazy job, we just figure it out.
But did you think it would look better without the glass, the plexi over it, or?
I think so, but
I like it. Yeah.
Those flowers are extremely breakable. I mean, we had several of them. They're made out of ceramics. We had several of them that broke just in shipping them to us. But I don't think they would have lasted very long with people, with kids and stuff. If they got up on the couch and started pulling at them,
no, they wouldn't.
They'd be all beat up by now. So it made sense. It just didn't really make sense to put 3-dimensional objects in a place where you didn't want people to touch them. It would have been easier maybe to put in paintings or something like that were behind glass to begin with.
Oh, yeah. Well, I found one more photo, and it was one that it shows. Hang on. This is what you were wanting people to see, I think, in your gallery.
Oh, that's our atrium.
Yeah, your atrium.
That was not too long after we opened, and that was a half-life Bronstein in the center that rotated. And man, you never saw our old gallery, but it was an old clothing store with creaky floors and window units, and it wasn't lit very well. So to go from that to a more international quality gallery was just about as lucky as you could get to be able to build that. The whole gallery was built around that atrium. We originally were just going to have not have a dropped-in ceiling, and that atrium was going to be a freestanding thing. But with all the wires going around and everything else, the ceiling was way too ugly to leave. So we dropped in that ceiling over the atrium, but it's still freestanding. It's still freestanding.
Did you help design that though, right?
I did most of all. I designed all the key features. The atrium was actually Thomas Kincaid did a lot of gazebos, and it was kind of Kincaid was the inspiration for the gazebo or the atrium. That was the inspiration to have a key feature. People that go right tend to be wanting to do framing, and people go left or wanting to look at artwork, and that's just how it's always been. So it really lets people like look around, or they can just go straight to the counter to the right there if they're picking up or having custom framing done.
Yeah.
But I'm really proud of that. We put a lot of time and effort into making that gallery. Everything I had seen in my last 10 years before that, hanging walls from chains and the lighting with the drop down goosenecks and the, all that cool stuff that you wouldn't normally have the opportunity to build. So that was an exciting time. And we're still, I've owned the gallery for 10 years, and the gallery's been here 25 years, and it's holding up well. The carpet.
You have your own, that little shop, the North Carolina shop off to the right.
Yeah, when we built it, it was we were the first Thomas Kincaid. There was 300 something Thomas Kincaid signature galleries, and we were the first ones that were allowed to build onto, we built it into our gallery. Yeah. So, and I always wanted, we actually have a door that we could close in case we were doing a Kincaid show, so the art shop could be closed. So it was two separate identities, both owned by Lenny. But then working for Mangum and knowing the local artists, I always wanted to get back to the North Carolina look. So about 8 years ago, it took us a year to get up and running, and then we started construction on the North Carolina gallery. And we're actually doing on December 12th. We've got 4 or 5 vendors that are going to be here with Christmas gift ideas, and everybody's going to get some wine and hors d'oeuvres and an art shop bag to put their gifts in, and it's going to be a lot of fun. It's it gives back to the community a little bit. We have 30, 40 artists a year that submit, and we can only take maybe 1 or 2 of those because it's not a big space. But at least it gives them an opportunity to have, most newer artists are in co-ops where they have to pay monthly for their wall space, and they have to work a certain number of hours to keep the gallery open. But the art shop is a retail gallery, so we purchase it from the artists to resell, which
that's good.
Big step up. People don't realize that different galleries run different ways, but co-ops like Art Mongers downtown Greensboro, those artists are paying to be there, so you can get whatever quality of work as long as they're willing to pay the $150 a month or whatever. I don't think they discriminate who they show, but if you're going to show in the North Carolina gallery or the art shop, it's got to go through me and Julie and April, and we all have to really agree that this is artwork worth purchasing. We don't just take anybody, which unfortunately is we have about 40, 50 different artists over there, but it still doesn't seem like enough. We still have so many more artists that would like to have coverage and be shown.
Well, I'm sure you've got a lot in there, and it's really beautiful. I really do like everything in there, and your frame collection is just really impressive too.
We probably have the largest frame collection in the air, anywhere near us. We just have walls and walls, and we every time we get new samples, we put them up. And during COVID, about a lot of them got discontinued because there's countries we couldn't get to, and it's a lot of work for Julie to have to go through the walls and make sure everything's still available and the color's right, the mats and the glass. And, we have 1,500 square feet just of production. I think I showed it to you, but it's a big space back there. And there's a lot of in-stock products that we have to keep up with.
Yeah, I couldn't believe how big it was just for the frame. I was like, wow, that's not something that's too tedious for me. I think I couldn't do that at all, or wouldn't want to tackle it.
I've never been on the framing end. I've never been on the framing end.
Okay.
I can pop a painting open, or I do some restoration, but they don't want me back there. I'd probably just hurt myself. But we have, computerized mat cutters. We have air hoses going to everything, and we have a Pastora saw that can cut up to 5-inch pieces of wood. But it takes a long time. It really takes a while to consider yourself like a real master framer. It takes years of framing before you're going to be anywhere near what my guys can do.
Oh, I'm sure. I was impressed just seeing what you showed me. I couldn't fathom doing that, and just so much to know. I was glad that I got to see it. I really have a different appreciation of it. Do you have a favorite artist, Andy? Or are you afraid to say? Or
I don't know that I've picked one. The one Hassam was the one I had in my house. It doesn't fit in our new, since I got married. It wasn't. We have more of a cottage kind of feel, so we have more older paintings in our house. But Hassam, the figurative abstract, I'm just blown away by people like Philip Philbeck and Thomas Arvid. These photorealists just blow my mind. I mean, how they can take a paintbrush and make it look like a photo. People are always like, "Oh, you sell photos of wine bottles." It's like, no, those are paintings. So just, they all have their own talents, and I try not to pick and choose, but being the best at figurative work, and that we try to have a collection of artists that work off, there's something for everybody. It's like not having an ice cream shop and just selling vanilla. We try to have a variety where some people like that. We just had Getty from Germany in last November, and had a great response to his palette knife art. And he actually did pieces of North Carolina and Greensboro before the show, and those sold pretty fast, like Cape Hatteras and things like that. Those went we sold about 10 during the show, and it was mostly North Carolina, because they don't see too much there's not a lot of international artists painting North Carolina. So it is kind of a little niche for us. Every artist that's come here, we've taken downtown or had them take photos to paint me something. And everything of Greensboro we've done, we've sold. We might have it a little while, but there's just not a lot of good art of Greensboro.
Yeah. That's amazing. I mean, that they'll do that. And do you do much installation over in Old Irving Park in those old mansions, or?
Some. We don't. Again, you're getting into houses that tend to have more traditional work because of their age and all. Back when I was just doing installs for like $80 an hour, which I'd prefer not to do if it's not my work. A lot because of my age, and a lot because of insurance. When I'm in homes hanging $40,000 paintings, if I drop it, who pays for it? But no, I was over there all the time, and I'm pretty good about Greensboro. I know where the plaster walls are, so I've got a different kit for plaster. I always ask people if they're Old Irving or something. I ask them if their walls are plaster. 90% of the time they are. So I have special plaster nails and different tools for that. So, but yeah, I've been to everywhere. When they were building Northern Shores and stuff out there at Lake Jeanette, we were out there all the time when people were moving in, and that was more of a contemporary look. So we were selling a lot of Hassams and more contemporary modern pieces. The older homes, they tend to have designers that want, if not the look. I've appraised houses before, like for estate sales. I'll go in and appraise everything, and some of these old paintings, they're $1,000 paintings from Furniture Market that have been painted to look old. Some people don't want to put the money into real collectible older paintings. That they'll go to Furniture Market and pick up stuff that looks like the style of their house. You're not going to generally see Hissam's in a traditional home in Irving Park. That would be a little bit out of place.
Yeah. Okay, well, I run through there, and I like some of the old. I had one architect on my show that built a couple homes over there, and they're new, but they're built to look really old, and they do. They're very impressive.
I have a really good client. He's got one of those historic houses off on the golf course, Greensboro Country Club, and he's got Pinots and Leonard Wrens, and he just got a Getty Venice scene. They went to Venice. And they wanted a picture of a scene from Venice, so I got him a Getty. So he's got kind of that contemporary, traditional vibe going at the same time. But, he doesn't have like figurative abstract and all. He's got more of the casual, the sensual women and things that fit his home. But he doesn't have like nanos and Hissams, and that's more of a contemporary, and it tends to be a little bit younger crowd that wants that kind of work in their house. Yeah,
I'm sure. Well, it's been great having you today, Andy. I really have enjoyed it. What future do you see for the art shop, or do you?
We just celebrated 125 years. Hopefully the next one will be celebrating 130 years. We just keep on going.
If someone is watching that's interested in learning more about art collecting or being a gallery owner, what would you recommend them the first step for them to do?
Come in and see me. I talk to budding artists and collectors and budding artists, and I'm here. I mean, I'm here all day, so I love to talk to people, and I'll try to give them as much marketing information as I can if they want to get out on their own and do their own thing, or if they've got a painting. I love to look at old paintings. I don't even charge for it. You could charge a fee to do an appraisal, but I just want to see them. So it's very rare that I have to charge anything. If I have to go to their home, there's an hourly fee to be out of the gallery. But if they bring it into me, there's no charge for me to tell them what they've got. And some like it and some don't.
Do you still teach those classes?
I still get out there once in a while. Retirement homes, they need a speaker. And I used to bring all the artwork, and now I have it on. Now it's more of a PowerPoint presentation where I can get in and get out really easily. But for many, many years, I had like 8 pieces that I would set up on easels, and that was a lot of work. And also, they were pieces I owned, and you'd slowly occur a little damage from putting them in and out of the van repeatedly. So once I went to PowerPoint, it got a lot easier to talk to people. But it's fun.
Do you offer internships at all? Like you did? Well, you did it.
There's really nothing. There's nothing here at the art shop, since it's a retail gallery. We don't really. An intern probably wouldn't. We need people that know how to do custom framing and all that. And it'd be unfair to take an intern and expect them to really know too much. There's a lot of artists. There's a lot of mediums. I say it takes at least 6 months to get up and running at a fine art gallery, to where the artists and the moldings and all that. And we did have an intern one time. She just helped out with the North Carolina gallery and helped over Christmas. But we paid her. I think maybe it was like $10, $12 an hour, but we did pay her for her time. But she did help with the gift wrapping and the sales over Christmas while she was off from college. That was nice to have that extra hands.
Yeah, that would have been nice. Well, is there anything you want to mention that we didn't go over?
Well, I don't think I can remember everything, but I think you got it all out of me. I don't think I got much left. But
well, you got a show coming up in December.
December 12th, we're having some of our North Carolina vendors coming in, and everybody will get like a bag, and they can pick up gifts for Christmas and have a glass of wine and some hors d'oeuvres while they do it. It should be a ton of fun. We did one in July, and we had a really good reception. We had a potter in the atrium, and we were showing people different ways, painters and potters, and they got more of a lesson of getting to see the artists at work. So we try to do that every year as well. We did a major show for our 125th anniversary last November. But you got to come up, it's a lot of planning to get an artist from Europe in, and you got to get a lot of 40, 50 pieces together. So it is a little daunting to bring in somebody like that for a show.
Yeah, that would be a lot. Well, I want to thank you again for being here. Don't leave. I just want to thank the viewers for their continued support. Make sure you share the replay of this interview with Andy on your social media. You can visit the Art Shop's website it's just www.artshopnc.com. And then join me this Friday with director Steve Steiner of Surflight Theater in New Jersey. And to your own success, just keep on rocking and take care, and we'll see you next time.